All right. So for our final project, our group decided to do a turn-based RPG game. See here. Our idea was, like I said, a turn-based action role-playing web game where users can interact with the environment and defeat script-driven enemies in battle, and that once all the enemies are defeated, the user sees the end credit scene. For our development process, we worked our way through the tutorial on Game Dev Academy, and our process was to take turns working our way through the steps while screen sharing so we could each assist in the creation of the project. However, when we started, we ran into issues trying to add additional features, so we hit some roadblocks, and the tutorial was only compatible with older versions of Phaser, so we attempted to migrate to a newer version of Phaser. And then we also had almost every nightly meetings to work on this project together as a team, which allowed us to troubleshoot the project together and work through everything. Technologies used: Phaser 3, Babel and NPM, Tiled, Node.js, Webpack, and Photoshop. And then this is basically what each of us mainly worked on for the project. Stuff that just isn't shown. And then here's some attributions. Basically the game dev, and then GIFs and sprites and stuff like that. All right.
The scenes are mostly split into there's the boot scene where all the like the images and the sounds were imported and sprite sheets were loaded and kind of like configured. And then there's the world scene where the character is able to move around. Originally, it was actually had spawn points that were invisible, but we made it so that there was actually creatures that you'd run into. Uh, we all, I think, hated the fact that like old RPGs had those kind of mechanics, and it's, you're going about your way and you just keep running into things. The UI scene is actually where a lot of the interaction with like the menus and like the creation of the menus originally like as a graphic kind of occurred, as well as just the top level implementation. There's a battle scene where most of the damage was kind of like calculated and the logic on whether the next turn is going to happen. So that was the scenes. And then there's the modules.
The enemy one just inherits this, basically setting up the
It doesn't matter.
characters.
I put the event in the folder with the modules, but I didn't know where else to put it.
No,
I think so.
that's accurate. I would
think
have
fine.
put it there. All right, let me go ahead and run the code real quick. Then we'll show the actual game off. Okay, so it actually just threw us right into an encounter because we spawned right on top of an enemy. So let me go ahead and defeat them real quick, and then we'll show what the actual world scene looks like. This is the battle scene.
And pressing spacebar walks through the battle.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll select the attack, and then it'll select the creature and initiate the attack.
I tried to implement other different like types of attacks, like the special and the healing. Kind of unsuccessfully. Is actually a lot more involved than I thought. So in the final version, there'll actually just be the attack.
I think it spawned us on top of them twice, actually.
That's crazy. Weird luck.
Okay.
One of the additions to the scene was the script to actually make the spawns move around on the scene. So each of these little creatures have their own sprite sheet, and they're animated, and they move around in random directions, random speeds, and if you run into one, then it'll trigger the battle scene.
Yeah, so I found these cool sprites, and she kind of brought them to life. It's a lot better than the tutorials version. We have the health of the warrior and the mage visible. I was trying to get a way to keep it up to date, but I couldn't find that. But as you can see, the enemies are dying. So I mean, everybody is taking damage. Whether or not your hero's going to die soon, that's kind of a mystery. You gotta kind of keep track of it.
Go ahead and fight a couple more here, and then it should trigger the end credit scene.
Yes, we have the battle count at the top of the screen that keeps track of how many battles you've been in. Once you reach the point of 5 battles for this version, it'll trigger the end credit scene as the end of the game.
I really like these sprites more than the original versions. They kind of
Oh
remind me of
yeah.
like old like Chrono Trigger.
Oh, there we go. Sir Bones.
Sir
Okay.
Bones is our favorite.
Okay. And there we go. That's the end credit scene, which I worked on. It's basically layered images. And then I'll show you in the code where that is. Right here, just a bunch of layered images. I had to mess around with the scaling and the position. And then this update feature right here makes it scroll from one side to the other.
Another thing to mention was the enemies are basically randomly generated when you enter a battle. It's having trouble like setting it up so that each one would be at their separate positions. So I believe the werewolf is in every battle, but besides that, it's random. It basically sorts it and like shuffles it up, takes off the last one, and then concats it with the werewolf.
Well, that was our project.